the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, in Saudi Arabia, after all, are heading there. Not so much for the finance part of this big financial powwow, but the things that will address national security, terrorism, issues with which he says and the administration says we have a common bond with the Saudis. To the former chairman of the Committee on Terrorism and Presidential Envoy to Iraq, Ambassador Paul Bremer. Ambassador, all of this is the back and forth, as you know, over the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, and that it's not easing up. Now this big conference where a lot of the bigwigs are not going, a lot of underlings are, but it's certainly soured relations. Deservedly so, or what do you think?
Well, I think so, and I think the first problem is the Saudis haven't really given us a coherent explanation. Their first argument was nothing happened. Their second line was, well, actually something happened, but it was an accident. Now they've said, well, it wasn't an accident, it was a rogue operation. However, it's a rogue operation that involved apparently 15 members of Saudi intelligence, including a forensic expert who brought a bone saw in his carry-on. So it's a little hard to understand yet what actually happened. And I know the Turkish government said they're going to reveal more information tomorrow. We'll see. But we really need to get to the bottom of it. You know,
when I look at the number of the Saudi officials who were rounded up, they included some pretty bigwigs, including the Crown Prince's director of communication, also a two-star general who was largely responsible for the Saudi war in Yemen. These were not low-ranking figures, so they couldn't have done what they did oblivious to the prince, could they?
Well, that, of course, is the key question. What was the role of the Crown Prince? He is, after all, an autocrat who is autocratically trying to reform an autocracy. It's a rather bizarre situation. When he rounded up the elite of Saudi Arabia about a year ago, he locked them all up in the Ritz-Carlton and left them there till they coughed up a lot of money.
That's right.
So I think from the American point of view, there are two things we have to do. We've got to get to the bottom of what happened, including the question of whether the Crown Prince was directly involved. And we have to preserve the Saudi relationship. This is, after all, a key relationship for us in the region. We can't just throw it away. And to do that, the president's going to have to come up with a clear sense of what he wants to achieve and a great deal of discipline in achieving it. These are perhaps not the most obvious normal attributes of this administration.
You know, I'm wondering, these are not the normal attributes of the Middle East when you talk about leadership, hardly any of them the saints, but, you know, we can't pick and choose those with whom we deal. And I'm just wondering, the administration is walking a tightrope here, right? I mean, you don't want to repeat what we did with the Shah of Iran, a controversial figure at the time, ultimately abandoned by the Carter administration, and now we know what we got afterwards with Ayatollah Khamenei. Because sometimes the devil you know, however horrific, is better than the devil you don't. And I'm wondering how this is played going forward. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right to focus on the Shah because there are some interesting parallels with the Crown Prince. The Shah was also a reforming autocrat. I mean, basically, he started opening up Iran in the early 1970s and lost control of the process. And indeed, that is the dilemma that the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia faces. He seems to want to open up. He's let women drive and so forth. Whether the system can take this pace of very fast change that the Crown Prince wanted to take and survive is the question. Can you do this without provoking a similar reaction in Saudi Arabia that happened in Iran? And that's why it's important for America to keep its eye on the ball and have clear sense of what it's trying to achieve here.
Ambassador, the Saudis have made clear that they would not use oil as a weapon. I'm paraphrasing here, but they wouldn't do what they did in the 70s, probably because it would also boomerang on them. But what do you think of that? Because that is an ongoing concern, that oil could skyrocket, that this could easily get out of hand. One of the reasons why the Dow is revisiting session lows here. What do you think?
Well, the Saudis will, of course, say that. Whether they would do it, I'm not sure. In any case, in terms of America's interests, we are much less vulnerable, as you and your listeners know, than we were in 1972 and 73. It would hurt our European allies a great deal more. It's not to say we shouldn't care. We should care and hope that that doesn't come to that. That's why I said I think the the fundamental goal for the United States now is to get to the bottom of what happened and to preserve the Saudi relationship. And the president needs to do this, or Congress will take over the role of dealing with the Saudis, and Congress is a blunt instrument, as we all know.
All right. We'll watch what happens, Ambassador. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Nice to see you again, Neil.